Well, everybody, welcome to, I suppose you could call the revitalization of video games with Caleb Harvey. Um, I am doing kind of a rebuild on this show, and this is really going to be retitled into So I Finished, and I will be explaining, well, self explanatory, pretty much all the games that I have finished throughout my life currently and what I've been playing so far. Um, I just felt like the previous format that I had with video games with Caleb Harvey was um, already going a bit stale, and I wasn't really too happy with where it was going. I'm still somewhat proud of what I made, but um, I'm still going to keep the previous episodes up on the channel. But from here on out, I am much more comfortable in what I am planning to do with So I Finished, and I hope you enjoy this first episode. Have fun. So I finished Nukitashi. I found out about Nukitashi through Trash Taste, specifically episode 276. Trash Taste is a kind of anything goes podcast, with anime being a small focal point. If you're an avid anime watcher or even a gamer, chances are you have heard of them. When watching Trash Taste, the premise of Nukitashi sounded like just the right amount of chaos for me. I went ahead and watched the first episode of the anime, which only made me more curious for what the visual novel was like. And the thing is, it has much more of a strong start, but struggles to keep up the ante throughout the rest of the story. Well, what is that story? I'm a little sorry for if you had to ask. Guys, you better strap in. Or maybe strap on. Nukitashi is an eroge visual novel developed by Krupo and published by Shirofune in 2023, later getting said anime adaptation in 2025 by Studio Passion under the ecchi tag. It follows our protagonist Junosuke Tachibana and his little sister Asane moving to Seiren Island after their parents tragically die in a car crash. They basically get a hand-me-down house over there, and the island is where they grew up as kids, so it all just works out, of course. But the thing about Seiren Island is that it has something called the perversion sex law, where you can freely have sex wherever and whenever you want with whoever you want, excluding study hours at school and no touching the kids. And as Junosuke finds out, basically everybody is forced into sexual acts without any regard to true love and practically brainwashed by the law. He adamantly hates Seiren Island and vows to destroy the perversion law. He runs from school to find a secret hideout underground later on, and an old man introduces himself on a big flat screen TV, sharing the same hatred for the island. And from there, they ally with each other. Junosuke establishes the NLNS, and the story really begins. After the initial 21 chapters following Junosuke's route, you have 3 other routes, and the bonus true route after completing the said 3 routes. Those are Nanase, Misaki, and Hinami, and Fumino. The order I went with was Misaki, Hinami, Nanase, and Fumino, because that's just what some random guide on the internet said to do, because the story is just better progressed or something like that, I guess. Doesn't really matter, but what does are these characters, these girls. Misaki's route is regarded as the weakest route, but honestly, it really did have some romantic moments I personally enjoyed. From the initial love confession to how Junosuke's Aradani goggles, his battle goggles, had a Misaki mode. I found Junosuke's and Misaki's dynamic just really cute. But when Misaki becomes another background character, which is literally her trope, by the way, she's very bland and also supposed to be considered fat, but I just never saw that. I don't know if I'm crazy, but I could probably say that about the other routes now that I'm thinking about them, considering how they become background characters when you're focusing on the others. Like when playing Hanami's route, she becomes a lot more warm and motherly to Jinosuke as their relationship blossoms. But when moving on to another route, Hinami's just, I'm not a child, I'm not a lolly, I'm older than you, and my boobs are still flat. That the main cast of girls just become very one note, and the story really relies on their trope if Jinosuke is not dating them. But I think Nanase is an exception to this because even in the true Fumino route, she is nothing but supportive of Jinosuke and wants what he wants to destroy the said perversion sex law, which makes me kind of sad that Nanase isn't the true route, or that really any of the other girls' routes can't be canon. I don't know what the deal is, but Fumino is the final girl route that you unlock, and honestly, not much to say about this one. Ultimately, she's the quiet, mysterious one that happens to be the key to changing the perversion law on Seiren Island. All around good character and story. The final boss fight between the governor and the old man was pretty epic. I liked it a lot. Besides the main cast, though, the other three girls that you encounter are Toka Reisein, the president of the SS, which is like the high school's student council president. And this is anime, so student council president might as well just be like the president of Japan, you know? If you know, you know. And her two main subordinates being Rei Tadasugawa and Ikuko Onabuta. I swear, I'm still studying Japanese. I can get better than this. But Toka being the cunning battle tacticianer, Rei being a girl trying to just make ends meet with her siblings back in Japan and not really liking the state of the island, which you learn later on. And Ikuko, the kind of dick-hungry slut that isn't much of a tangible character until playing through Misaki's route. If you have to ask, yeah, I'm a Toka boy all the way. She does have her own route in the sequel, Nukitashi 2, and I'll definitely keep my eyes on that down the road. Now, if you're someone like me, this sex island and perversion law idea is so absurd, it's not so much disturbing as it is stupid and or funny. And then as you progress, seeing public sex on the island so frequently becomes so normal for you, just like the rest of our cast. Like, you don't even have a half chub anymore. But besides the routes, Nukitashi's entire script kind of can be a true slogfest at times, particularly when it comes to just day-to-day events. The NLNS group really becomes more of a go-home club, and almost nothing happens when everyone does get home from school without having to have sex, using modified sex toys and masturbation toys as ammunition or as the weapon itself. Cumulatively, I'd say about like 3/4 of the game is just this. You wake up, Jinosuke and Asane banter in the kitchen, or Asane's like trying not to go to school, but they end up walking to school in some roundabout way, still avoiding sex, hang out in the underground hideout while the girls banter with each other, and escape school, and repeat. And when something new happens in between those sections, it's just kind of spoon-fed information or new exposition until a really big event happens at the school, or like somewhere else on the island, or like a new character gets introduced that's important. I found myself eventually skipping a lot of dialogue around the 20-hour mark when playing Hinami's route. The game took me ultimately 48 hours to beat for all routes, plus the true ending. And ultimately, I think I have a love-hate relationship with Nukitashi. I'd say for it's something like 80-20 ratio. 80 of it I loved, but the 20% I truly hated. I already explained some of the writing and caricatures, but there's one character I've yet to talk about. Jinosuke Tachibana. He isn't the worst protagonist I had to suffer through, let alone visual novel protagonist, but damn, he has his flaws. There's two things to note that will always come up throughout Nukitashi. One, he was bullied for having a big dick as a kid, leading to him having a complex about it, keeping it a secret for like hours until finally he dates one of the girls. And two, he really cares about being a virgin and taking the traditional way of losing said virginity through true love, and sex can only happen if a couple is in love. You will never hear him shut up about these two things until the endings of each route, basically. But I think what just hurts me the most when playing Nukitashi is whenever he gets caught by the SS or show, the island security, he will never admit that he got raped by somebody. And he has the fucking audacity to re-explain that losing virginity is the act of ejaculating from the soul and just not, ejaculate physically inside of a woman. Just admit that you got raped. And I know it sucks that it happened, but damn bro, let it go. There, I said it. Not only that, but he's just straight up an asshole to Nanase specifically. Like I said earlier, Nanase deserved better. She's just out here trying to cooperate with Jinosuke and the gang, but Jinosuke keeps on insulting her about how slutty she dresses, and ultimately in her route towards the end, ultimately calls her unattractive and unlovable. And he's just over the top or super defensive all the time. I don't think he's as bad as Takuya Arima from Yuno, but I think I got that out of my system. Now, let me talk about what I did like from Nukitashi, besides the premise and the chaos, of course. The soundtrack is actually really fucking good. I felt excited when I needed to be excited. I felt sad when I needed to be sad, and I felt fulfilled when I needed to be fulfilled. Every track just hit. It flows between three states. It's smooth jazz for more study work moments, like if they're in the underground place below the school. There's anime pop for more fun, chaotic, or like crazy sexual moments at the school or anywhere else. And a soft, quiet piano for a more settled down, all's well that ends well moments at the route endings. If I ever start to forget certain scenes for Nukitashi, I can always dig through my video game music library, pull up its OST, and it will come back to me. And that's music doing one of its jobs anyway. So, round of applause to the composer. If you never plan to play the visual novel or watch the anime, please check out some of the songs included in the original visual novel. It's definitely magical. Maybe one day I'll play the sequel, Nukitashi 2, but for now, I think I had my fill of like 50 hours of sex scenes. Goddamn. But again, I get that 80%. I ultimately love Nukitashi. I did not regret it. It might be it's a contender for like my 2026 3x3 things that I loved this year so far. But that's about it for So I Finished. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, evening, and good night. See ya.